How's it going?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing good. You got a new microphone.
Trying it out.
I like it. Looks good. Audio sounds great too. Right on. Well, welcome to the live stream. We say we got about one viewer with us at the moment. Oh, why is my audio reverberating? That's not good. Can you hear that? Is there an audio reverb in my room?
No, you sound great.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Wonder why. Yeah. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate you joining. We got a couple viewers with us right now. For the folks watching at the moment, we're going to get started here in just a minute. We got a few other people join in today, but the context of today's live stream is all about Cisco Live, as you can kind of see on the screen here. It's a nifty little branding we got on the screen. I know Cisco Live was a week ago, but there was so much that happened during the week, and I think everyone, not just watching, but everybody out there in the world and us at Cisco too, take away so many different things from an event like this, because we can only be on so many different sessions on a given day and during a given week, and especially considering the 2-day event. I want to make sure I have some perspectives on here. So we have some friends who are going to be joining here in a few minutes. I've got Matt Akuma here with you right now, one of the SEs here in the Bay Area. So we'll get started here in just a moment. For the couple of viewers out there, definitely chime in and say hi. I'd love to see who's out there. And if you have any questions for us or any topics you want us to tackle, post them. Just hammer away there in the chat. We'd love to see it. I wish I had some more music for us. I had tried to prep a little bit more music for the intro to kind of make it a little bit more fun, but we're here, so it's all good. So Matt, who else do we have joining in first? I'm trying to remember who's our first few guests today.
I think Kristen was going to be the first, right?
Yeah, I think Kristen's going to be on here in just a couple of minutes. I think I told her 1:35, so she'll be here in just a minute. Right on, so we can get started with the couple folks that have joined so far. Welcome again to our post Cisco Live highlights. My name is Jeff Bull. I'm an SE manager here at Cisco in the California Bay Area. And Matt, why don't you give yourself a quick intro?
Yeah. My name's Matt Okuma. I'm a systems architect on the BAS team under Jeff, and been at Cisco. So this is going on my 10th year. So definitely Cisco Live was definitely different this year, but I think in many ways it was really good, and excited to go over some of the stuff with you guys, at least that I found interesting as we go through this.
Right on, man. What was your, for everyone out there probably already knows that it was a virtual event. So really it was 2 days officially, last Tuesday and Wednesday, but there was a lot of activities that happened kind of around that. DevNet Day was on Thursday. There was keynotes in the morning and musical guests throughout the day, et cetera. What would you say, outside of the topics we'll get into in just a minute, what would you say was your biggest takeaway from the new format this year?
Yeah, I had a lot of great feedback from customers, and just being able to experience myself, just being able to quickly jump between rooms and content, and being able to quickly say, hey, check out the blue room, check out the yellow room, just using the colors to give feedback on, different things that were going on. Like, customers definitely gave me that feedback, and I found it very useful too. Had some customers that were doing, participate in some of the sessions and be able to tell people, hey, they're on the yellow channel, and it was just easy to get through, easy to navigate for sure. But it was really, really cool.
Yeah, definitely. I noticed that one of my favorite parts. Hey, Kristen, thanks for jumping on. One of my favorite parts, I would say, was that ability to jump between sessions so easily. That's always the challenge with Cisco Live in person. It's part of the fun and the mystique and the excitement of it, but because you're running and getting steps on while you're at Cisco Live. But it is always kind of challenging, because if you've got sessions back to back and they're in totally different places of whichever convention center it happens to be at, you can miss things or whatever else. So I think it was pretty awesome to be able, like you said, Matt, to just go to the main page, click a different color, you're on a different thing, and just watch. And at some point, if you're like, okay, cool, I want to transition because I don't want to miss something else, you could just kind of jump over that too. Chris, since we get some quick intros. Actually, why don't you give a quick intro since you just joined the stream, and we've got a few new viewers on too.
Cool. Hi, everybody. Kristen Gilberto, Senior Engineering Manager in Commercial West, and love working with both Jeff and Matt. So I'm excited to hear what they thought about Cisco Live and share what I thought about it.
Right on. So one of the Kristen, Matt had a couple things he was going to chime in on, like what he took away, what he was excited about. So, but I'd love to hear from you, and I think we have Ralph joining us here in just a moment too. What I'd love to hear from you is, other than like major topics, like super interesting things that you learned at Cisco Live, what was one thing you would say is kind of like your main takeaway from this new format, or I don't know how long it'll continue, but like this new format of event being virtual, whatever else.
Yeah, I thought Cisco did an amazing job keeping it engaging and interactive and making the energy come to life virtually. One thing, I don't know if this is the answer you want, but this is something that was bothering me all week. And I left last night. One thing that stuck with me is this Room Raider Twitter account. So everybody at Cisco Live, Liz Santoni and Michael
I didn't catch that.
We're talking about this Room Raider app. I'm like, what are they talking about? Is that like a Cisco Live survey? Like, what are they talking about? I felt so out of the know. And I looked up last night. There's this Twitter account that gives people's rooms. So in this pandemic, gives our rooms ratings. And 2 of the Cisco people were rated. So they like rate like Ellen's room and famous musicians and, you know, all sorts of people, senators, governors. 2 Cisco Live people were rated and they both got 9 out of 10 on their room. So I don't know.
That's
that
cool.
Stood out to me that it's just a crazy world we're living in where you can reach anybody and everybody. And there's these global Twitter accounts that, you know, blow up that Cisco Live even reached that, which I thought was really cool.
That's pretty rad. Hey, Rolf, thanks for joining us, man.
Hey guys, how are you doing?
Doing good. Thanks for jumping on. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
We got about 15
Hey,
viewers.
Rolf.
I'll do a quick other intro since we got some more folks here. We're up to 15 viewers. Actually, I'm going to turn off the Cisco Live branding. I love having this, but my face is being hidden behind one of these things if I don't move around just right. So I'll turn that off. But thank you for everyone who's joining. Rolf, Kristen, Matt, thank you guys for being on the show. I really appreciate it. You know, I know there's a long thing going, so everyone's going to be on for a short period of time throughout the afternoon. So for all the viewers who are currently watching, thank you so much for joining. Really appreciate it. Something I put out there when Matt and I first jumped on was, if you have any comments, you have any questions for the panels, we have the format today is going to be, there's 4 of us on right now, but the format the rest of the day is going to be, folks will drop off here in a few minutes. Matt, Kristen, and Rolf will be on for a little bit, then they'll drop, and we have other panelists that are going to come through every few minutes through for about the next hour and a half. So you can stay on for the whole time. You can drop off. You can come back, whatever you want. The whole purpose of this is to give you an idea of some highlights and everyone's own perspective about what the event was like last week at Cisco Live, things like that. So if you have any questions, comments, feedback, anything you want to hear, post them in the chat here on YouTube, and we'll see them live here, and we can answer them and come back to them, whatever you want, but they're always going to be here for us. So definitely chime in and say hi. I can't see who's actually joined, but I can see that there's 15 people here in the corner of my screen. So if you're on, jump on, say hi. We'd love to talk to you. Thank you, guys. Hey, Rolf, since you just joined, why don't you give a quick intro to everybody of who you are and what you do here at Cisco?
Yeah, hi guys. I'm Rafael Sierra. I'm a system architect based in the Northwest, covering the state of Washington.
Awesome, dude. Well, thank you for being here. Thank you.
Yeah.
No, I know we've got, okay, I should probably call it out. Between Matt and Rolf here, I got to say, between the two of you guys, how many sessions have you guys hosted at Cisco Live in the last X number of years?
So
I'm making you brag, by the way. You're going to have to brag. You have to do it.
So I have done Cisco Live 5 years, and I have hosted 8 sessions.
Nice. Matt, how about you?
I've actually been fortunate. I found a way to go to Cisco Live physically every single year I've been at Cisco. So
that's how many years?
that's 9 times so far. This would have been the 10th, but we did it virtually, and it was, a lot of good experiences that way as well. And lots of whisper suites, lots of great customer stories over the years, but there's a lot of great stories to talk about virtually too.
That's super cool. Awesome, guys. Well, listen, let's get into the meat of things, what we're really here to talk about today, which is Cisco Live and what we all sort of took away from it. So I'm going to step back a little bit and kind of be there for you guys. But I think what I really want to hear from all of you is each of you guys in turn, or just chime in. First question would be biggest announcement from your perspective. I don't mean just the biggest thing, but the thing that hit you the hardest when you heard that announcement. You were like, holy crap, that's just amazing. And before we do that, 3 folks just jumped in. Thank you, guys. Aaron, Daniel, and Rama, thank you guys so much for being part of the show. Really appreciate it. If you have any questions, let us know. So yeah, guys, biggest thing that each of you took away, chime in however you want to chime in.
So one solution that I actually, I knew they were cooking it, but it's finally going live. is that they actually even show a demo of the machine learning and artificial intelligence that we're bringing to DNA Center. So not only to predict, when a problem is happening, but also, show how to solve that problem, or even solve it for you. So that was something that we were, we talk about the future, we talk about where we're going with the NAC, but it was pretty cool now to see that we're going to be releasing it pretty soon, and it's going to be available for our customers. So I would say that one was one of the things that I really like about the innovation that we're bringing for the NAC. And there are more, but I will allow the team, to chime in, because I have like 4.
Matt, how about you?
I'll go. I'll go.
ahead.
I mean, I have like all these little post-its from all my notes. They're like all scattered here from all the good things. I mean, I think I'll hit on data center. One thing I thought was pretty huge announcement. A lot of great feedback from customers, which I'm trying to learn up on as well, as the Nexus dashboard. So the ability, we have Intersight that's a platform, right, that we're rolling a lot of stuff into, and now doing this on the Nexus side of things, the ability to bring a lot of those management tools together in a platform for a data center was very exciting for customers. And then I'll kind of piggyback on Raf on one thing that I just really thought was phenomenal, answers a lot of customer problems, is the group-based policy analytics. It's very similar to what Raf was saying, but I think we're very, we heard the story of titration, profiling your applications, right? Getting a blueprint of your app, but now being able to do that on the campus with StealthWatch coupled with ICE, and being able to, baseline your campus infrastructure. And then, that is my business intent. That's how my campus should operate from a security perspective and flow perspective. And to push that down is pretty compelling, pretty phenomenal, that we're able to do that for customers.
Yeah, I definitely.
So those are 2 big ones for me.
I definitely heard a theme of, like, on that note, Matt, and then what you brought up, Ralph, a minute ago about more of the AI being leveraged in DNA Center. It definitely seems like a trend. I think insights is probably too high level word to use, but the whole idea of using some kind of machine-based, tooling, or, I don't want to say artificial intelligence necessarily, but like using those sorts of mechanisms that exist out there already to just take all the data that we're already gathering to learn a bit more about what's actually happening on the network, so you can proactively do stuff, take action, fix a problem, whatever it is, seems to be gaining a lot more traction. I mean, we've been hearing it for years, but it sounds like, at least at the Cisco Live, that a lot more of that's becoming actually real in our products. Did you guys notice that too?
Yeah,
I definitely did.
That's the whole deal, like big data analytics, telemetry, inbound and outbound telemetry. I think that's where, everything is heading. I mean, if you have the data and you know what's going on, then you can take action based on that, right? So I think I won't say that's the future. I think that's the, right now what is going on. That's the present right now. So I think that's where everybody should be heading.
Yeah, that makes sense. Krista, what were you going to say? I heard you chime in there.
Yeah, I definitely noticed it. Matt stole mine. I shouldn't have let him go second, because Nexus dashboard totally wowed me. I feel like, Ross said it too. We get wind of some of the things that are coming, but I did not see that one coming. So I had to immediately make sure I hadn't fallen asleep or something at the wheel, because that was incredible. And just, I think, just to add on it, the bringing together ACI and all the momentum we've seen behind ACI and stitching those fabrics together in that dashboard, the demo of it, Jeff, to your point, I mean, just that entire second day keynote with Todd demoing every single management, visibility, and analytics solution that we had, it was really, really impressive. It wasn't, just going deep into one thing or just showing one innovation, but that focus across every single technology and solution set that we have was very incredible to see it firsthand. And I thought a lot of the presenters throughout the couple of days continued to talk about insights, automation, which we talked about in the prep, obviously is a word that's used a lot, but seeing it come to life throughout the 2 days was even better. And then that visibility as we're looking at some of the challenges that we're facing in this new world definitely stood out.
That's a lot of what I picked up on too. I mean, the theme of like insights and automation, again, big words, but I think the meaning behind them being we have to start. I mean, businesses are realizing with COVID that everybody has to automate or simplify more of their operations on a daily basis, because with no people in the offices, you have to find every way you can do something without physically being around the equipment or the software you need to touch. And then you can't do that unless you know what's actually happening with those things. So you have to have the insight or the analytics to understand what's actually going on to know what to do to automate and simplify things. Would one of you guys mind giving one of you all mind giving a little bit more detail on what Nexus Dashboard actually is? Because I got to catch a little bit, but I don't know if I've actually seen a lot of people have asked questions about what specifically is that, how does that relate to Intersight? Because they sound like they're kind of similar. Anybody want to give just a quick update on like what the Nexus Dashboard is supposed to actually tackle for customers?
Yeah, I think we had a lot of different management products and different things in the data center arena. So we had like the multi-site orchestrator, we had network insights, we had network assurance, we also had many other third-party tools. So the idea is to bring all this together in a central place and have them integrated together in a way to manage both ACI and non-ACI fabrics in a single platform. So at a high level, that's what I gathered from it. I don't know if Raf or Kristen had any other.
That's exactly it. I mean, we have obviously ACI, right? And within ACI, we have the controllers, and then we have other tools to be able to get analytics and, understand the policies, how they're working on ACI. But I think the big thing here is to combine, both platforms, ACI and non-ACI, deployments, and then put them together, and then, as Matt mentioned, be able to get all that analytics, and also be able to understand what's going on with your environment, and be able also to manage and monitor your environment through Nexus Dashboard. I think that's pretty neat. We didn't have that before. So now combining ACI with non-ACI, because we have customers that they have both solutions on production, right? They have ACI and they have a non-ACI on production, or probably an old deployment, and they just migrate to ACI. I want to be able to now monitor both deployments at the same time. So I think that's where Nexus Dashboard is going with.
It sounds a lot like, almost like I'm probably oversimplifying, but almost like an evolution of what DCNM used to be, like DCNM, but then you take all these other things that we've added, like the assurance, like you mentioned, Matt, and other pieces of it. And now almost like kind of we had this product, all these other things were added, then we stop and put it all together in one place. And now you have Nexus Dashboard, which becomes the center point for the network side of things in your data center, whereas Intersight can be that sort of cloud native thing for your compute and other systems there, which probably means, I would imagine, at some point in the future, there will be some sort of interlinking between the two, but we haven't heard that yet. So, well, guys, thank you so much all for joining. Anything you guys want to leave us with before we you guys get to drop off and we have our next presenter show up?
I have one quick thing.
One more thing. Do it.
One more thing, just one more. 125,000 people registered, 800,000 people tuned in. They sent out the stats to anybody who was registered. So just incredible participation across the globe. And I think it was really cool to be part of that.
The last one thing I want to share, I don't know if you guys were following the Twitter feed and LinkedIn, but I was very impressed with how many questions were posted and how fast we were actually answering those questions. I was like, really? I mean, I was just following the the Twitter account of Cisco and checking on the response. That was pretty awesome. It was pretty quick, and it was good.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was on Twitter for kind of a different reason. I was participating in a lot of the chatter. I was not watching a lot of the questions, but I was hearing that from people that there was a lot of really good responsiveness coming from Cisco Live coordinators and all that. So it definitely felt like, even though we've heard from some folks that they very much missed the in-person version of Cisco Live, which I totally get, because there's a lot of benefit to that. There's a social aspect you don't get when you're not physically next to somebody. It definitely sounds like, that aside, the event still went pretty well. Is that kind of the takeaway you guys got, even from customers?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Right on.
Definitely a lot of people that normally wouldn't get to go, were able to attend, which was pretty cool to see. All the engineers getting to attend from a customer instead of just two. So that was great for them.
Yeah, that is super cool. I know that that's in a lot of companies, it is challenging because of budgets or, having everyone out at once. It can be tough. So, well, guys, thank you so much. Thank you all so much for joining. I really appreciate having you. I'll let you guys get back to your stuff. And we've got our next presenters coming up in the green room here in just a minute. So thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, thank you guys, everyone who's joined right now. Appreciate it. I got a few more folks who have joined in our chat. Thank you. Nahika, hi. It's good to see you. Thanks for jumping on. See you out there. And Aaron, again, very cool number of attendees at Cisco Live. Yeah, Aaron, that was kind of surreal. The last number that I had heard was 115,000 registered. I did not know we ended up at 125,000. That is just a huge jump. And to have 800,000 people actually view sessions is kind of wild. I don't really know how to wrap my head around that at all. It's kind of surreal for sure. Well, listen, I've got somebody in the green room at the moment, but I think he's having some trouble with his, it's Brian with his camera, which is unfortunate. That's okay, Brian. We can keep working and I can keep talking because I do that really well. Let's see, he's having some trouble with his camera. So we'll see if you can get that working. But yeah, anybody else joining, anybody else in the chat, I'd love to hear any questions you have or any other sort of audience participation here. Any other sort of takeaways you guys had, anything you noticed that was different about this year and how that was interesting. Dave just said, anyone catch the customer appreciation events? Follow-up question, was there an annual hat for 2020? I don't think there was a hat this year, Dave. I don't, which is kind of a bummer. Like, why would you even go if there's no hat? I mean, I say that now a week after the event, but I don't think there was an official hat this year, which is a bummer because that top hat looking thing we got at San Diego last year, my 4.5-year-old absolutely loved it, mostly because it had lights built in, so you could click it and all the lights would flicker on. He broke it, of course, like 3 hours after I gave it to him. So there's that. It's kind of a bummer. I think Brian's having some problems with his camera, so he may not be able to join us, but we'll push on, Brian. I wish you were here, but we'll push on a little bit. While waiting for the next presenter or anybody else to join in here in a few minutes, I'd love any questions you guys have or any sorry, Dave. Yes, you asked about customer appreciation events. That's right. I did catch a couple of them. I caught Dave Matthews for a little bit. He was amazing. I've never found myself to be a big Dave Matthews fan. At least I didn't think I was, but I'm noticing more and more when I try like new music, I actually get really interested. So watching his stuff, even for a few minutes by himself with just his guitar he was stellar. Like to watch him get into that music was amazing. What other customer appreciation events were happening throughout the days? I know that I think Joan Jett and the Blackhearts played at some point. I think I missed that entirely, which was a bummer. I think the Chainsmokers performed at some point. I had a bunch of other meetings going on too, and I was hosting a lot of these live streams, so I didn't get to watch. But anybody else in the chat out there catch any of those things? I'd love to hear about it if you guys did. For me, one of the biggest takeaways, I mentioned it earlier, was the whole insights and automation piece, but I heard that terminology in a number of different sessions that I participated in. So we did live streams last week. If you didn't get a chance to see, there was a multi-cloud session that we did a post-event live stream on. There was a SecureX session on how SecureX actually works and the details of it. And then the keynotes, of course, we watched those and listened to a lot of the new strategies that our execs are putting out there. And something that was super interesting for me was, these big terms like insights and automation get flashed around quite a bit. And looks like we got Jess join in. I'll add her in.
Sorry about
Jess.
that.
You're okay. No worries. Here, we'll even be fancy. I'll add the branding back. There we go. Get the branding back added to the screen there for you. So we're all fancy. I was just telling the audience that, one of the things that came up with the other presenters who were on a few minutes ago, and I heard a lot in these sessions, was the whole like insights and automation terms were used. And I know that that's kind of like fluffy, high in the cloud sort of terminology, but it got me thinking that, especially with COVID, customers or the businesses we all kind of work with are struggling in a lot of cases right now to figure out how to send people home or how to work in that environment. They're not necessarily buying new gear, but they still got to manage data centers. They still have to manage all of this infrastructure they have. And I've noticed, at least with our customer conversations, I'm not sure about you, Jess, but I've noticed that a lot of the conversations have been around automation is probably too simple a word. It's more around how do we simplify the work that we're doing every day, because we can't physically walk into a room and touch a box to see if something's working. So how do we simplify what we need to do to actually manage that infrastructure? And kind of the only way to do that is to know more about what the heck's actually happening. And I think, at least for all the customers that I work with regularly and my team works with, most of those customers are realizing very quickly that they just do not have the tools they thought they had that were really good for seeing what's actually happening in the environment are nowhere near as good as they thought they were. I don't know if that's something you kind of caught on too, Jess, or Brian, but I definitely noticed that myself. You can chime in now. It's okay.
I missed part of that.
It's okay, Brian.
I was on my computer and I just got on my iPhone, so this will have to do.
That's okay. Can you turn your volume up just a little bit, Brian? Because you're just a little quiet.
Yeah, I was trying to get my Apple headset to work, but it's
That's
using
okay.
my Apple mic. So.
No worries. Well, I'm glad you were able to make it. This is perfect. Well, before we dive in, we got about 13 folks in the chat room with us right now, which is awesome. Thank you guys again for being here. Anybody have any questions, let us know. But just before we get started, first off, would you mind give it a quick intro to everybody of who you are and what you do at Cisco?
Yeah, so my name is Jess Foster. I'm a systems architect. I actually work in the San Francisco area. And I've been with Cisco for, sorry, I'm like trying to look at you. I've been with Cisco for almost 8 years now. So I've seen a lot of different iterations that Cisco has gone through with a lot of different products and technologies. And actually to what you were saying, to your point, I think like the overarching theme of everything that I saw at Cisco Live was how can we make this simple and like how can we potentially like make this cloud enabled, because a lot of our work is now remote. So yeah, that's definitely like a big, that was like the main takeaway I had from Cisco Live. It was across all the architectures too, right? It wasn't just the cool Nexus dashboard. It was across collab, security, and then obviously our EN portfolio. Even if you're, our traditional Catalyst customer, or if you are a tried and true Meraki customer.
It's so interesting you say that, because I remember watching at least the part of the one of the keynotes when Todd Nightingale came on and started talking. And I've been super curious ever since Dave Geckler transitioned to his new role and Todd Nightingale took over. I was really curious to hear like what that story is going to look like with a cloud native platform and the traditionally non-cloud native. And it was really interesting to hear exactly what you said, which is it doesn't matter, even with our more traditional Catalyst type install base, having something that is more either cloud native or can be more empowered by something like that is very much more flexible than I bought a box and I can monitor with that box. It's going to have to be the reality. It just is.
Yeah. And I was personally super impressed. I have a friend who works over at Meraki, and he jokes about Todd calling him Hot Toddy. So I don't know how you feel about that. But
I have never heard that. That is amazing.
Yeah, he was amazing. Kristen had mentioned he went through a bunch of different dashboards, and that was across our entire product portfolio. Like that was not just Meraki. And so I thought that was really amazing that we could have someone from a Meraki focused background jumped in and he demoed 3 different products that weren't Meraki based within 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And I was just in total awe that Hot Toddy could do something like that. And
literally the best thing I've heard all day today. I could like hashtag Hot Toddy. I think that's a new trending topic. We're just gonna make that a thing.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna get in so much trouble.
You should totally do it. I'm gonna go into Twitter in just a minute and totally say per Jess Foster hashtag Hot Toddy. There we go. No, but you're so right. Like I don't want to like overemphasize like his impact on, because he's been in the role or his new role for a little while and they're making new changes. And so I don't like want to like overstate what's going to happen, because I mean, you and I probably don't actually know what is going to happen in 2 months and 6 months, except for what Cisco Live said. But to see him jump right in and immediately start taking advantage of messaging that was probably being thought of anyway, but this is like the perfect time, because customers, these businesses we talk to are like, many of them are struggling. Their industries like financial services, nobody in financial services works from home. That's just not a thing ever. I don't care if you're in, stock trading or a bank or credit unions, they don't work remote. It's not part of the business model. Same thing with healthcare. Who works remote in healthcare? Like that's not a thing, or at least historically hasn't. And now that all of a sudden they all had to. So what do you do for these environments that or these companies that don't use Meraki or they don't use traditionally cloud native things. They use the traditional, what is considered traditional. How do you handle that? And I think I'm with you. What him just coming out very quickly and saying, here, done. Here's a couple quick demos. This is what we're doing. We're ready to go. Let's just move. And it made me feel like Cisco can really be that influential voice for a customer of, we can help you with this. We do understand what you're talking about. Just give us a chance to have that conversation with you.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I was really impressed with like our DNA Spaces BU to come out with some of the kind of like proximity tracking applications just for people who do have to go back on site, for the financial folks that you're talking about, for the healthcare folks. I think that's a really incredible how we could kind of create that solution for those customers who do have to be in rooms. And for the longest time, I can't tell you how long I've been demoing the room kit, being able to identify all the different people in the room.
Yes.
Right? You're like, okay, there are 5 people in this room. I can see 5 faces. And now, like, we can actually use that information with everything that's going on with COVID. I had no idea that would come in handy for a global pandemic, but it did.
Right. Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up. So there's a customer in my, so just for the audience's sake, Jess and I are in 2 different, we both work in the Bay Area. I'm in the East Bay, she's in San Francisco. We cover similar customers that kind of are around each other, but slightly different versions of the same type of customer. Same types of industries, but we just different versions. But it's so interesting that one of the customers that we have was it the healthcare company? I tried to remember which one this was. It was, no. It's actually a chipset company that everyone would know the name. I'm not going to say them out loud, but pretty well-known graphics sort of chipset company. And we as they're working on some building stuff that they're doing, we had just had a conversation. My team just had a conversation with them recently about sort of their conferencing of the future in this space that they're building out. And the pitch actually that we did and the presentation we made to solve a problem for them was not to their campus folks and not to all the technologies. It was really to the workplace resources team. And it wasn't even about COVID. This is pre-COVID, like a month before COVID. It was, how do we combine, and the whole presentation was on combining exactly what you just said in the room kits or the endpoints with DNA Spaces, with maze maps, and what was the other one? And WebEx. So specifically, so you could tell not just how many people were in a room, you could notify them in the room. There's too many people in this room. I think you need a bigger conference room, or there's 2 people in here. Here's 2 other options for you of other conference rooms because you don't need this space, and like start to make a more integrated feeling for people so they know here's where it is. And immediately when COVID started, we were all kind of talking on our team about with DNA Spaces, you can just tell, and you can immediately pivot that into hey, there's too many people in this room. But you could even flash a warning up on the screen saying there are too many people physically in this space. You need to clear the space out, or even send a notification to like WPR or building security to say, hey, let people know there's maybe a safety issue here that people need to. There's too many people in this close proximity, which is huge. I mean, it's not that we're leading the way, but the fact that these technologies are already able to do this, and you just need a way to see it. I don't know. It's pretty legit.
Yeah. And I mean, for the longest time, it was just something that was within the room kit itself. And now we've got all of those analytics exposed in the WebEx Control Hub, which is great. And yeah, obviously you can use those for handy things. I personally had a customer tell me that they were literally tying chairs together so people couldn't like bring new chairs into an office space. So you can do that. Really high tech solution.
Like, it's an option.
Or you can use some of the technology that you own. So
yes.
It's kind of nice that we have.
I'm kind of with you. I think I would opt for the technology you probably already own. But it's you bringing it up is such a good point, because there's just I don't think there's enough exposure in a lot of cases, and it's a lot on us too here at Cisco. But I think it's also for businesses too to kind of slow down. And we all need to kind of be talking more to each other. And I think what we saw at Cisco Live really helped, because it let people start to see things like what you're describing, which is you have these technologies that can actually do a lot more for you than you're thinking of, and solve problems probably in very creative ways that you haven't thought of. But because our minds typically get focused on this one thing that they do, that they don't kind of let themselves also see that, hey, through an API or whatever, you can make them do more. Hey, Nina, thanks for joining.
Hi, thank you for
Nina.
having me. Hi, Jess. How's it going? Hi, Jeff.
Hi. We've got about 13 folks joining us in chat at the moment. So, hey, everybody, thanks for joining us. Naveen, what did Naveen say? Great update on Collab to solve customer pain points. You're welcome, Naveen. We did it just for you. So, Nina, thanks for joining. Why don't you give a quick intro to everybody who's watching about who you are and what you do here at Cisco?
Absolutely. Hello, everyone. My name is Nina Moore. I am a systems engineer based in San Francisco, California, supporting small to mid-market customers in the San Francisco Bay Area. Jess is also on my team, if that helps anyone. We're happy to be here.
Awesome. Thank you for joining so much. So I guess Jess brought up a minute ago about the sort of cloud native. I mean, you can probably say it better than I can, Jess, but the kind of sort of cloud native or flexibility in some of these solutions that we're really talking about at Cisco Live. From your perspective, Nina, what was like the top one or two takeaways that like were super interesting to you when you heard them at the event?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I definitely have to say is I was really impressed by the leadership that was showcased by our team last week during Cisco Live. I thought that they started off the event in a great way. I thought it was a chance for us to be seen a lot more human by addressing and acknowledging some of the real issues that were going on around us as we're starting to figure out how we're going to be successful through this pandemic. So I thought it was a way for Cisco to not be seen as this 80,000 or however many employees that we have, corporate America machine. But I felt like at that moment, Cisco was sitting down with me and my customers and talking about how we can get through all of this together. One of the things that I sat in on that gave me goosebumps to a certain degree is when I felt like we acknowledged the spectrum of where we see customers are. On one side of the spectrum, we have customers who are very resilient during this time because they were very proactive prior to COVID-19. And now I see a number of them thinking about what their long-term strategy is going to be to actually work from home completely. And I also see customers that have more of a hybrid approach where some of their workforce is going to be working from home and another portion is going to be going back into the office. But then there's this other part of the spectrum where a lot of companies were very successful with physical spaces and people showing up physically to those locations as well. And so I got really excited when we started to talk about the back to basics use cases for DNA spaces. I thought they did a really good job. I thought Cisco did a really good job with summarizing some of the things that I'm actually hearing from some of my customers top down in the organization, right? How can we make sure that we're continuing to be safe and compliant as we start to reopen our doors in this phased approach? And how can we ensure that people are still adhering to both local and business regulations? How can I get information in real time on both a high level and a granular level as well about what's going on in these physical locations? The third thing is, how can I continue to provide a personalized experience for not only my employees, but my customers as well, while still respecting those social distancing guidelines? And then last but not least, the fourth thing, which I think we all can agree on, is physical locations are not going to be nearly as they were in the past, at least for the next year or two. And so having the ability to get as much information and data points about that location as we continue to kind of figure our way out of this post-COVID-19 world, I thought was really amazing. So I was impressed thoroughly by last week's announcements at Cisco Live.
Yeah, I can really appreciate that you said that. It kind of, as you were talking, it was reminding me of that our branding campaign as a company a few years, whenever this was, the human element, whenever that was some years ago. And it was definitely heartening to see, because we've all seen as Cisco employees, we've seen this. And I think we've seen it publicly too, that Chuck, especially Chuck, but all of our leadership team has done a really good job, I think, at addressing head on the racism and the other, I'm missing a word here, but the other discrimination issues that our country specifically is facing in addition to COVID. Mm-hmm. And so we know that because we've seen it and we hear it from our internal, which is such part of the culture at Cisco. I think it was amazing, to your point, for them to take that opportunity at Cisco Live to also do the same thing and let all of our customers know, and the people we're here to support and help know that that is how we feel. Some people are going to agree with us. Some people are not going to agree with us. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because this is who we are, full stop. And we're going to, if you want to engage with us, awesome. This is where we're at. If you don't, that's your choice too. But I don't want to be negative about that. But I think the former is probably more true of most everybody out there, that they really do want to engage in that way, and almost gives permission a little bit for businesses or other people to feel like, okay, cool. Like I can be a real human around these other people, which is nice. Brian, you made it back.
Yeah, sorry for the struggle, man. I think I'm good.
It's okay. Well, why don't you do a quick intro, and then we'll get back to the conversation.
Yeah, my name is Brian Madke. I'm up in the Northwest area. So living in Seattle, been with Cisco about 7 years and spent about 17 years in IT operations doing network engineering and security, application delivery and stuff like that. So being at Cisco for 7 years has been a dream of mine. Like it's awesome to be here even after 7 years. Just there's so much that was released with Cisco Live, but it was kind of like under the covers, right? So where I'm getting really excited, you see the keynotes, you see the closing keynotes for the day, all that was really uplifting and cool. But where I'm getting excited is back to the technology and things that weren't even necessarily on the center stage. So I'll give you some examples. Like I was in a Whisper suite this morning with the BU for multi-site edge. And one of the things we talked about was ENCS as a platform, right? I have a customer who just did a large ENCS purchase for SD-WAN. Our story to them initially was really, hey guys, you're going to have to, do API, DevNet, all that's good, API is good, orchestration good, but a lack of any other story besides that isn't necessarily good, right? So we got really good news today. So ENCS is being able to be, in a way, managed by vManage directly. So if you're doing Cisco SD-WAN and you have vManage, you're managing all your virtual images. Now there's a component of visibility to the hardware, the fans, things like that. So that's just one example, right? The other one is clearly SecureX, right? It's probably one of the biggest things that caught the show this year. And essentially what SecureX is, it's the next evolution of threat response. So any product you get within the Cisco security family, you're able to actually leverage SecureX. And what SecureX is it's a central pane of glass for visibility across most of our security portfolio, and then eventually even beyond that. And it's also an orchestration pane. So when an incident happens, it reports it to SecureX. SecureX can then respond in a number of ways that you defined across multiple platforms, right, within our security portfolio. So you start to see it a little bit here with SD-WAN and be able to manage some hardware. You've seen it a little bit over in DNA, which I could talk about piece of that. I'm talking about pieces and pieces of everything, but our stories are really starting to come together. And to me as a technologist, it's so exciting to see that starting to gel.
Yeah, I was surprised no one had mentioned SecureX yet. But, Brian, to your point, kind of back to the simplifying everything, making things easier for our customers, SecureX is going to 100% do that. And the really nice thing is a lot of my customers have been using Cisco's threat response. And if you've been using Cisco threat response and if you've set that up for your Cisco security technologies and you log into SecureX when it's available at the very end of June, it's going to suck in all of those instances with CTR. So even the onboarding of this product that's supposed to make your life easier is easier. But yeah, I think that's a perfect tangent. We actually had a question come through here a second ago from Kevin. Do we have any additional products in SecureX than we did in CTR, like the ones listed? Do you guys know?
So, it's almost across the entire platform. So I don't know the answer to that, Kevin, but what I can tell you is CTR was kind of version 1.0 of our attempt to glue basically all of our products together. And there were things that we could do between, say, AMP and ICE to remediate and quarantine. But this is a whole different step where like CTR, I don't believe you orchestrated that out of CTR. It was a pane of glass which you could go and view incidents and then kind of figure out what the scope of the
kind of losing your audio a little bit there, Brian. Sorry.
Incident was. It's so sad, but things across other product lines that it couldn't do before. So that there really does have that orchestration engine component.
Totally. That makes sense. Nina or Jess, did you guys want to chime in on that too?
I was just going to say, like, you know, to Brian's point, like with CTR, we were able to like actually do that threat hunting. Like you could be like, there's this threat, now I need to go hunt for it, versus SecureX is kind of this different lens on all these things, and it covers a whole bunch more of our portfolio. You've got like things like AMP, and you can integrate CDO if you're using Cisco's Defense Orchestrator with our firewalls. You can use the new Orbital tool within AMP for endpoints, email, web, threat grid, stealth watch. Like it's kind of almost the whole enchilada.
Yeah, not to mention also the API integrations with third-party tools. And I also think SecureX is my favorite word, free 99 as well, when you have a Cisco security product too. Feel free to
say it again. What was
free
that?
99.
Free 99. I haven't heard that. What is that?
Free.
They're just free. Okay. You know what?
I caught you, Nina.
I'm just so out of it. I apologize. No, but I think it's pretty rad that I know it's almost like the death knell of anybody who says we have the single pane of glass for everything that you need, because like every company that's ever said that, it's been like, really though? Do you? And it feels like SecureX, from what we saw that last week, was definitely that. Like it actually could really be it. And I love that you brought up, Nina, the APIs, because it's something that's always been near and dear to my heart. And especially in security, there are so many point products, so many point security products. I know that we have that slide internally at Cisco, and I know every other security company has one too. That's like, here's all the security vendors, and it's like 5 bajillion company logos that who knows what the heck they do, but they all do like half of the same thing. So to be able to like bring in whoever you want into one portal, so you get all of your, to your point, Jess, the threat hunting and threat response and all these different things that you have to do as a security ops, SecOps, whatever it happens to be, in one portal. I mean, possibilities are kind of endless, which is pretty rad to see that. And it brings in the whole like cloud native idea. Like it's just a portal you go to and you feed your stuff to it and look, you're good to go. Awesome. Thanks, Katie. Thanks for joining. I appreciate it. We've got about 12, 13 people on right now. Everyone say hi to everybody in the chat. Any questions you guys have? Thanks so much for Kevin for bringing up the additional products question on SecureX. If you guys have any other questions, definitely chime in and let us know. Well, I have you guys for the last couple of minutes before we let you guys move on and we have the next crew come in. Just any final thoughts on Cisco Live? How was it different for you guys this year? Any takeaways? Anything else you guys are really excited about?
I can say, as a person that went to Cisco Live last year when it was in San Diego, it was definitely a different experience, but I was really surprised by how much effort the planning team put into just making this still a really great experience. One of the things that I actually enjoyed when I think back at my experience last year is the sheer ease of going from one session to the other with the click of a button.
Yes.
I know I got a lot of steps in, which was a good thing last year as I went from session to session, but being able to be in one session for 20 minutes, gather what I need, and then go to a session that was really exciting for me as well. That was definitely a new thing due to this digital experience that I actually really enjoyed.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. I was talking to somebody, I forget who it was, and one of the sessions was happening. I'm like, I want to watch the session, but I literally have been either live streaming from this desk or sitting here all day. I'm going to my treadmill. So I grabbed my iPad, I walked to the garage and I set it up there. I'm like, I'm just going to watch a session, do a session so I can get at least some kind of steps in, since I'm not walking around Cisco Live all the time.
I love it.
Jess or Brian, anything else you guys want to wrap up with, or any other thoughts for the audience?
Yeah.
The audience.
I think like my main thought is, you know, for as long as I've been at Cisco, I feel like we've always been kind of introducing like new small things. And this is just really about improving and making everything we already have even better. So that's kind of what I took away as my main thing from Cisco Live. So nice. I'm excited to see what we're going to come out with, especially with Hot Toddy.
That's And then Nita totally missed it. You need to go back. You guys have to go back. I'm not going to do it again. You guys have to go back and rewatch the stream. It'll be on YouTube afterwards. But hashtag Hot Toddy. Jess came up with a new hashtag. It's going to be a thing. It's the new thing.
I love it.
Brian, how about you? Any final takeaways?
You know, what Jessica keeps kind of hitting on in terms of ease of consumption, it's such an important thing in today's world. I mean, we're used to selling switches, and we make great software and we make great hardware, but you know, kind of the days are past of having the network engineer manage all that stuff. So just seeing Cisco's dedication to making things more consumable is really exciting. The other point I want to make sure everybody knows that's listening to this is Cisco Live is over technically, but there's some big stuff still going on. So we have Whisper Suite sessions going every day. That's one. So if your account team already set that up, please show up. I think it's really important. I've had wonderful sessions today already, meeting with people that I hadn't met before, keeping those contacts. As customers, if you join those, you can ask BU people anything. You can help shape what we prioritize, which is huge. And then the other part is like I said, Cisco Live's technically over, but like if you had to count 4 channels and I'd say average 4 sessions per channel, you know, that's not a lot. What, 16 sessions. If you go to the on-demand library and you select Cisco Live Virtual, take a guess how many sessions are posted there. 277. And all those sessions are sessions that the customers have not had exposure to yet. And there's some of that deeper technical content that they may have not had access to during those 4 channels for those 4 sessions per channel. So if customers are out there and they're looking for, how do I deploy CES or something like that, or how do I deploy Firepower, or you know, what is Cisco's approach to cloud connectivity? Like all that stuff's there. And you know, previous customers may have access to some of that content, but since we've gone from 30,000 or 20,000 to 120,000, now 120,000 people have access to that technical content. And I'll bet you that most people don't know how deep and wide all that stuff goes past what was streamed over the last few days.
Definitely. Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for joining. I really appreciate it. It's cool to get these new insights and just think about this stuff in a little bit different way. So thanks guys for joining. We'll catch you a little bit later.
Bye.
And our next guest is jumping in the green room here in just a second. I'll put on our, since there's going to be 2 of us for a few minutes, I'll put our cool Cisco Live branding back up. Thanks to my wife. She made this for us, which is kind of rad. Little grassroots. Sonal, how's it going?
Hey, Jeff. How you doing?
I am fantastic. How are you?
I am doing great. Hey, thank you for having me over. This is amazing.
Totally. Absolutely. So we've got about 10 folks joining us in the chat right now. Thank you guys all for sticking with us. We got a few more people that are going to come in, but we're going to be talking to Sonal Singh here for the next 10 minutes or so. Sonal, would you mind giving everybody just a quick introduction to yourself and what you do here at Cisco?
Yeah. So I'm a systems architect and covering all the Bay Area customers. And I have some really cool customers like ARM or what I've worked on. And ByteDance, TikTok, if anyone knows, that's my customer too.
That's awesome. Right on.
Yeah, just a fun one. And I have been here for almost I've been working in this team for almost 3 years. And I have been in Cisco for almost 10 years. And prior to this, I was part of Cisco Tech back in India before I started to go into the sales side.
Very cool. Well, awesome. So glad you can make it on today. So okay, before we get into content about Cisco Live itself and what your big takeaways were, what you got really excited about, big question. I mean, I'm assuming you've been to Cisco Live before, right?
Yes, I have. One time.
You have been to Cisco Live. How did you get steps or exercise during virtual Cisco Live? Did you get exercise during virtual Cisco Live?
I did not. I did not even have time to eat food. I was literally thinking, guys, I just can't do this. You know, like I have to get up and go eat my food. I was tired by end of 6 hours only. So yeah, I could not get my steps. And I was just pinging back and forth all my customers. So yeah, it was a different experience, right? Yeah, for all of us, it was a change.
For sure. How did you like the experience this time around? And I mean, be as honest as you want, for sure.
Yeah, frankly speaking, it was It was fine, right? We had a lot of engagement from customer perspective, right? Like we had a lot of customers who came in and who joined Cisco Live, but the engagement was not that much from my customer perspective, because they are the ones who always wants to go to Vegas or some other place to
Yes.
have that experience as well.
Hmm.
And they were kind of missing that exposure or meeting in person. And I feel like one of the reasons is because it's been 3 months since we haven't met anyone in person. So that was kind of bubbling it up as well, that,
Yeah.
oh, we just need some kind of human interaction too.
Yeah, and you know what? I heard that several of the folks who've been on throughout the last hour or so. I definitely heard that same comment too. That as much as many of our customers and ourselves for sure loved the virtual format because it was so much more accessible to so many more people this time. Customers that normally couldn't send people because they didn't have the budget for it or whatever else anyone could join, which was amazing. There's definitely a big social and like relationship aspect of being in person with everybody. I mean, we were on Twitter, a bunch of us were on Twitter catching up, and it was people that I don't use Twitter a ton normally, but during big events I do. And I was on there catching up with all of these folks that I normally see in person at Cisco Live or at DevNet and all those events too. So I think everyone kind of missed that a little bit. But the fact that I think Kristen was on a little bit earlier and she said we maxed out at 125,000 registrations. And there was almost 800,000 people who viewed Cisco Live content over the 2 days, which is just kind of
Mind-blowing, right?
Well, and especially for anyone who's watching right now who has not been to Cisco Live or doesn't have a lot of experience with the size, even if you've been and you don't know the real size of it, we usually have, correct me if I'm wrong here, Sonal, but it's usually like around, depending on the year, 25,000 to 30,000 people in that range, be it our three main locations, which is usually the Orange County Convention Center in Orlando, Florida, Vegas in the Mandalay Bay, or in San Diego. So 25,000 to 30,000 in person. And I think that includes a lot of Cisco people too. So you take that and now you have 125,000 people registered, 800,000 people viewing. I mean, we've never had that kind of content be accessible to people before, which is wild.
And I agree. And the best part about is this year, if no one knows, we have something called Innovation Forum, wherein we can get our customers directly to talk to the product managers and the BU directly and figure out where our product is going in the market, right? What are the gaps and what customers are looking for? And believe me, I have like 6 customers, not 6, like maybe 2 or 3 customers, but 6 different sessions I got them in. And it was all because it was virtual, right? With on-site, it would not have been possible at all. But now they can get their fair share of, like they can accommodate more virtually.
Yeah, and it makes sense for folks who haven't been to Cisco Live before, or maybe not participated in a Whisper Suite. We used to call them Whisper Suites, now Innovation Forum. They're usually for the most part, each architecture is usually in its own area. You go to, you check in, and you get in. Sometimes they're rarely next to each other. So you might have an Enterprise Networking or campus-focused one in this part of the facility, and then data center in a hotel 2 blocks away, and like trying to get between them is, to your point, Sonal, it's not easy to do. So the fact that people could just literally click over to a WebEx or click back to the yellow box on the screen for the other channel they wanted to be on, I know it just made everything so much more accessible. And I hope that has a really positive impact on a lot of people.
Yeah, so I agree.
So while I've got you, one of the things I really wanted to talk about with everyone as they join today is, what would you say your top 1 or, I don't know, top 1 or 3 key, like real big takeaways or exciting parts of Cisco Live was for you this year?
There were a couple of key takeaways, right? One of the things which was really good to me is the evolving nature of our product DNAC. We started on this journey of intent-based network solution. We were first in the industry to adopt that intent-based model, right? And after 2 to 3 years, I have seen that growing into such a beautiful way, with a lot of machine learning integrated into it. And what really clicked my mind, there were 2 things which were really very good, was endpoint, and there was an endpoint application which is there, which can actually, if you have some device which does not have 802.1x, you would always do MAC authentication, right? Just by nature, right? But if you could get the pattern of those devices, like an MRI machine or something like that, if you could get that pattern and run some machine learning, run some algorithms on it and figure out what that pattern is, you could easily provide that security for that particular machines, right? So that was really cool because we are, and it's live. It's there on the DNAC. Customers will be able to utilize that. They don't have to worry about figuring it out what they have in their network, because that application in itself will be able to tell them, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was really amazing because I feel that that's what we went to the next level. That's a truly intent-based network solution which we have adopted, and no one in the industry has that.
It
period, right?
Yeah, no, it's surreal. I can remember going back years when I was in IT operations, how we always looked at, you always try to find some sort of monitoring tool or whatever, and you wanted to find one that like covered everything. So people didn't buy vendor-specific solutions usually, unless they got them for free. You bought a SolarWinds, or you bought one of, you installed a Nagios for free, or Cacti, or one of 100 other things for monitoring. And if you wanted to do configuration management, that was a whole other thing. It's expensive, it's time consuming, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, that's 10, 15, 20 years, or over the last 10, 15, 20 years. You fast forward to now, Grafana or whatever. You fast forward to now, and everybody seems to sell some kind of solution that manages their environment. I'm with you though. The whole idea that in one place you can get not just the ability to do that intent-based networking and configuration, you can get the insights through assurance to validate that things are happening the way that you intend them to happen.
Yep.
But the fact that you can much more easily baseline other things that connect in your network, where in the past you're like, well, I see a MAC address talking, I either can bypass it, just let it go through, and I can start Googling the first 4 characters, to see what the manufacturer of that MAC address is, and search it out. Well, is that really the company that makes this product, or is that just a chipset in the NIC? I don't know what the thing is. How do I create policy on that? If I even have a policy engine, how do I create policy around it? Like, I just rambled a bunch of work that would have taken anybody hours to try to probably look up and try to make some sort of sense of. And now it's like, if you can identify these new things, to your point, if you can identify what this endpoint is, and just some base characteristics, you don't have to go look for more details. You can just say, well, look, I know there's an MRI machine play, or whatever it happens to be. But let's say MRI. I know that's what's plugged in. I don't know how it operates, but my DNA center can tell me this is the pattern I'm seeing from this. So here's some suggestions on how you can create a policy for that device. I mean,
that's next up, right? That's
yeah.
And it's more about, if you think about it, right, in the intent-based model, it says 3 things, right? Like, you define your intent. Intent can be anything, right? Like, it could be, I want to create a QoS policy, or I want to prioritize this application. But to touch that, convert that into a configuration and then touch to so many points, it's very difficult, right? I have this conversation with all my customers. How many tools are you using today to configure your network and to monitor your network? They would say 3 or 4, right?
Easily.
That's just the nature of it.
Yeah.
Easily, right? Now we are saying, hey, you don't have to worry about that because there's only one tool which can do for you everything. Mm-hmm. You just have one portal to go to, which is pretty impressive for me, right?
Yeah.
That was one important, and the another interesting, Jeff, I'm sure some people must have discussed this, but Nexus dashboard. That was something. So that was, okay. I was not aware of.
We've got to dive in here a little bit. It sounds like because I missed the session, and so some of the folks who joined earlier, Matt and Rolf and Kristen, talked a bit about what it is. But if you want to wax poetic about what Nexus dashboard is in more detail, you feel free, because I don't know much more than that. I think our audience would love to understand a bit more about that.
Okay, so it's very new, and I don't know enough as well. But let me tell you my view, what I think it's going to be. Right? If you think about it from network perspective, we have ACI, which is very cool, right? Like, you could orchestrate your entire data center with that. And if you have multiple sites, you can use ACI to orchestrate that as well, or even your cloud if you want to have that kind of environment. But there's one point with any overlay mechanism, with any overlay network, intent-based network, anything which you do, there comes a point where you need visibility of what's happening in your network. It's the same with any cloud provider as well. They need to know what's happening internally, right? And that's the challenge which every vendor faces, that what exactly is happening. Troubleshooting becomes difficult. So we have a couple of apps to troubleshoot those kind of scenarios, right? Like we have Network Insights, which gives you the insights in your data center of what exactly who's talking to who, what's the CPU looks like, how's the health of your devices, and all of these basic information, right? And then what we are also doing is that, as you know, vulnerabilities and PSERTs is a big, big thing. If your devices are vulnerable to a particular attack, then the 10 times that you would be attacked and some hacker would try to attack that vulnerability to get into your data center, right? So what we do is with this network insight and assurance is we actually give you the list of all the details of the PSERTs and bugs in a single place. You don't have to research on your own, right? And based on how your environment looks like, we can actually do, these are the bugs which is being hit by this code, and these are the PSERTs vulnerability which are out there. So what this Nexus dashboard does is all of this different tools which generally an IT or a data center team will use, it will come under one single dashboard.
So it basically brings, it sounds like what it's really doing is it's bringing, I mentioned this a little earlier, but I think it kind of bears repeating, is it almost sounds a bit like what we had in DCNM up until recently. Add in these other tools that have been, spurned off, or that we've done acquisitions for, that have brought other technologies like what you mentioned, assurance and a few other things, as well as things that you get through like the SmartNet Total Care portal that tells you like your PSERTs and your announcements, but put it all into one central place. Now, did you hear whether it's a cloud hosted platform or is it something that you install internally?
So at this point, it's going to be, when they release the first iteration, it's going to be on-prem, but I think in Q3, it's going to be completely cloud. Because they want to give flexibility to the customers, right? Because we have customers who don't want to go cloud, right? So,
well, it makes a ton of sense, because for all the stuff that you're describing, with exceptions, like you can run there's a way to run ACI in AWS in places.
Yeah.
And some of those other things do have cloud like public cloud abstractions that can work with the products, as well as like the Nexus 9K, I believe. But and even our firewalls and things like that. But if you put that aside, moving the sort of orchestration piece and monitoring piece and all those parts into a public cloud hosted environment, where all you're really doing is sort of like with Meraki, your network and your data and all that doesn't live in the Meraki dashboard. That's just your control plane. That's the place that orchestrates the control plane and the insights and all that. But all of your environment still runs as a traditional thing. It sounds like this is very much here. We've iterated or evolved a lot of products we had into one thing, moved it off premises, not natively, so we can develop it fast and get you new features and all the things you need as a company, while also enabling you to move quickly. You pay for a license, it's already up and running for you. You just go. You don't have to install something. You don't have to configure it. It's just go consume and do it quickly, which is, especially with COVID these days, I mean, it's the most important thing, I think, for businesses, is how fast can you take advantage of what you have, what you already are running, since no one can come into a building anywhere.
Yeah, and I completely agree. That's the SaaS model, right? The SaaS offering. And that's where customers would want to go. And that's the next thing, because you don't want to be deploying stuff, right? And it depends on the customers too, what their comfortness is and everything. So as you know, Cisco caters to a lot of different customers. So when we have solution, we try to cater to both the markets, right? Mm-hmm. But moving forward, you would see that all like Intersight is for the compute environment we manage. That's completely a SaaS-based solution. And similarly, Nexus dashboard is going to be from a networking perspective. That's going to be a SaaS-based solution too.
Yeah, it just makes sense. Honestly, it really does. If you want to have the automation, call it simplification of your processes, whatever terms you want to use. The adjective I don't think really matters. The idea is that as a business, right now especially, and probably for the next few years at least, as your employees are not wanting to go back into an office because it's not safe, they don't feel comfortable. And many businesses, you're probably in the same boat as us and the customers that we cover in our sales region. We're hearing from a lot of them that it's not just that they're hearing from employees that they're not comfortable coming back to work yet, even if they were allowed by their local like county rules or city rules or the state rules here in California. But what they're also finding is, in many cases, we have a couple customers that have big contact centers, like a lot of companies do. And in at least one case, we have heard from them that by sending their employees home, giving them a work from home setup that they can still participate in the contact center because they were smart enough at some point to put in a contact center solution that let people not have to be in the building. They're already noticing that their operational costs are starting to reduce. And I would say even more important, those employees who are at home are happier. They're more content. Not that, it's a varied scale, of course, because being happy and content right now in the way, all the things that are happening in the United States, not just COVID, but the other discrimination things that are happening. There's only so much happy and safe you can really feel. But on that scale, their employees are feeling more content because they can be at home. They can be comfortable. They can be in the setting that works best for them, still accomplish their job effectively. And in addition, the company is able to save money on operational costs. It's almost like this nirvana of balance with their employees feeling good and running an effective business. I mean, I don't want to try to make this thing, I don't want to make light of it by any means, but this was almost sort of the jolt that I think a lot of businesses needed to have to really realize that the way we've been running as organizations of all kinds for 10 years plus hasn't been working. This is showing us that it hasn't been working. I think somebody mentioned, one of the panelists mentioned earlier, maybe it was Nina, I think it was actually Nina Moore who mentioned that hearing from Cisco leadership that and seeing through products like what Todd demonstrated by showing a few cloud native solutions, I think really shows our customers and people and human beings and communities that we're here to help. And it's not just us here to sell. We're here to help you. Let's show you how to make this easier for yourself and how these things can work for you to accomplish your business goals. So you don't think about this. You can think about what you actually need to deal with, which is taking care of your people.
Yeah. And I agree, all of this, right? Like, because if you look at Todd, I remember like a few years back when I met Todd, somebody told me, wait and watch. He's gonna use every product which they launch at Meraki. He will do hands-on and see how simple it is and give feedback on it. I was like, oh, that's very cool if Todd is doing that. And when he joined Cisco, when he took that leadership role, he did the same with those products. Now I'm hoping he gives active feedback to the BU saying that, hey, this is not easy, this is complicated, this is simple, so that they can be in their shoes and see, okay, he's going to test all these products before they make anything else.
Well, I mean, anybody go back and watch the keynote and watch Todd's section. How many, I don't know, you tell me, Sonal, how many products did he demonstrate within 20 minutes? Like
I can't even keep track of it. Like he was so quick with it, like he was on this, and then I was like, what just happened? Like, did I
it was just
miss
like, boom, boom, boom. Here's 3 of our products. They're cloud managed. Done. We just solved a bunch of problems for you. Go.
You just
that's it?
Yeah.
I mean, in a good way. Like, it was that easy? Why didn't we do this before?
I know. And he just made me realize, hey, Cisco products are very easy. You better do it. You're right.
See everybody out there, all of our customers listening, Cisco products are easy. We promise.
Easy.
And this is not like me telling you I'm cool. Listen to me. No. I mean, totally joking though. I mean, we're very serious about it.
If a leader can use our products and showcase, I am sure these products are very easy to consume. We have made simplicity our fundamental thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So what else? What else really stuck out for you?
Another thing which really kind of interesting was for me to understand how Cisco, what is Cisco portfolio strategy, right? If you think about it, we are focusing on software with making good software with best of breed products. If you talk about our Cat9K, we have a good silicon. ASR, we have our QFP. And now we release Silicon One for our fastest router on the planet, right? That's like best of breed products. And analytics, running analytics on all of these products as a part of the major thing, right? And once you do that, with automating security with these products and the analytics which you're running in. So I saw a trend of all our products and all our portfolio following these 3 steps: good silicon software, running analytics on it, and making sure that you're automating your security, which is the baseline, which I see, I saw a trend moving forward, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think the word you just said right there is what everybody needs to hear and remember: the baseline. We are officially in a world. We've been ramping to it for years now. Businesses, I think, are finally realizing it was a little jolt to everybody, but it needed to happen, that automation with automating your security and then automating your processes in general is the baseline. You have to do that now because you don't have the option to just go back into your office and just like, I'll just go type something, or you don't have the scalability to like remote access and pull up this keyboard and hammer on it for a while on every command line. Because if that's all your people are doing, you're never going to get done the things you need to get accomplished as a business. And I think companies are finally starting to see that happen, which is good. And I'm so glad you said it, that like Cisco we finally really embrace that. And I think more to the point, we put out some new products like SecureX that simplify that to begin with. But then we showcased existing products, like you said. Todd showcased things we already have that actually do this really well. But I don't know if everyone's seen it that way. And that's what we need to get out there is like, we do have things that can really help. You just have to change your perspective just a little bit.
Yeah. And, there's you bring up a really good point about automating it. And as a new in coding, I'm doing my master's too, and I have to do a lot of Python, right?
Like, if you just brush right past that, you're just doing your master's. Like just no big deal.
Yeah. You know me, Jeff. I keep on learning something new, right?
Very true.
So I'm doing my master's. As part of that, I have to code Python. And one of the things which I realized is while doing my school, Python was very, like the language itself, the coding, the automation piece was very difficult for me, right? And what I did was I utilized our DevNet portal. We have such amazing classes wherein, if you are a network automation engineer, this is what you need to be learning, right? If you want to automate your data center, these are the skills which you went. So as I was preparing for my school, I still utilized devnet.cisco.com to actually relearn my skills so that I can utilize at my school. So that's another piece which is happening, right? Like we are creating this brand via DevNet, and we are creating this, workforce, and we are teaching them how they can ramp up very quickly with all automation and whatever they need from automating their infrastructure, their campus, their wireless, their security, everything perspective.
Yeah, I've been a huge advocate of DevNet since they came out. I love everything that comes out of that. And I think it's an underutilized, it is heavily utilized in that community, but it is definitely underutilized abroad, how powerful that can be. We're talking to a customer right now who's really getting themselves into how to orchestrate containers. They know they need to have a stronger container strategy. We're showing them how to use that with some of our products, including like Cisco Container Platform and HX, and link that with Kubernetes. But there's a skill set gap there because they just haven't had to do it before. Like these guys, they are learning, but it's going to take a bit of time. And I noticed, I hadn't actually looked before, but I noticed there was already a learning track on DevNet for orchestrating containers. It includes Container Platform, Kubernetes, Istio for service mesh. All these things that are already prepped for our customers to go start embracing. We just need to push a little bit there. Well, listen, Sonal, I really appreciate having you on. Is there any final thoughts you want to leave with everybody before we drop?
Just reach out to us. We are all towards simplicity, and we are going towards this SaaS-based model, right? And we are heavy on automating your network. So reach out to us if you have these three things in mind: adoption of SaaS, automating, and simplicity.
Perfect. Sonal, thank you so much again for joining us. I really appreciate having you.
Thanks, Jeff. Bye-bye.
Awesome. We'll see you later. Right on. Thank you guys for sticking with us. We got one more guest who's joining here in just a couple of minutes. She'll be on. I think she's actually jumping into the green room right now, which is fantastic. But thank you guys for sticking with us. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions, I know we've thrown a lot of information, whether you got to join Cisco Live last week or not. There's been a lot that we've talked about. So definitely make sure to go to ciscolive.com, and from there you can get your account set up, and you can still go back and pull up sessions from this Cisco Live, and you can also pull up historical sessions too. So I believe, keep sessions on Cisco Live for up to the past 5 years, I believe. Someone mentioned that to me. I think it was Rolf, who was on earlier, mentioned that to me previously, where we keep sessions back 5 years, because past that point, I think likely the session has been repeated, or the new relevance data has come out and we do a new session or something like that. But definitely check it out there. Bring her in. Deidre, how's it going?
Hi, how are you doing?
Oh, I think you're muted. There you are. I am
Can you
good.
hear me now?
Yeah, I can. Sorry, your audio was a little out of sync with your video there.
Okay.
So that's okay. It's all right. How's it going?
It's going good. How are you doing?
I am not bad at all. It has been a great day, and we've had a bunch of folks on today talking about all the awesomeness from Cisco Live last week, and it has been a lot. And we've got a list of people who have like stuck with us here in the chat the whole time, so it's been pretty cool. Yeah.
Awesome.
So,
hi, everyone.
Excellent. So before we get too deep into questions and what was exciting for you last week at Cisco Live, would you mind giving a quick intro to everyone and who you are and what you do here at Cisco?
Okay. My name is Deidre Cannon. I'm a solutions architect here in Las Vegas. So I'm on the Desert Select team. So Cisco Live was supposed to be in Vegas this year. It was virtual, but I've been at Cisco now almost 6 years next month. And
wow, 6 years.
It's been 6 years.
Oh, yes. That's wild.
And I support customers here. I mean, anywhere from casinos, airlines, manufacturers here in the Vegas area. And I'm on the select team, so we kind of are very high touch with the customers.
Very cool. So for your customers, I mean, especially for customers in a place like Vegas where they've been hit, I mean, I've got to imagine really hard by COVID and everything going on right now. What was the vibe like from most of your customers and just in general about an event like Cisco Live being virtual?
Most of them were able to attend because we went virtual. They were, more able to attend. A lot of times when Cisco Live is like in person here in Vegas, they're still going to work and coming to Cisco Live. They were able to take time out and attend. Most of our customers now are working from home. A lot of customers have not went back to the office. So I got great feedback. We had a lot of attendance. I had more people to show up virtually than I had signed up. That was originally signed up to actually attend Cisco Live. So
that's right. I heard from Kristen earlier, who was on at the beginning of the show. She mentioned, I think the last updated number was like 125,000 people ended up being registered for it, and then something like 800,000 viewers throughout the 2 days of the live sessions. It just I don't even know how to wrap my head around that.
I know, because I think about like usually what is it like 30, 40,000, including Cisco employees and the staff. And I mean, to have that many people attend and then to be able to go back and actually look at the videos and be able to watch them over and over again to, especially things that you want to focus on. I think that's really awesome as well.
For sure. So before we get into sort of like the big topics or announcements at Cisco Live that were really interesting for you that got you really excited, what would you say is sort of like one key takeaway from Cisco Live for you this year, given that it was a virtual event?
I think the key takeaways was being able to get the customers in the Whisper Suites. I've never been able to get all my customers to the Whisper Suites. And we were able to get so many more customers involved and be able to talk to the guys in the BU. I think that was like one of the best key takeaways for me with it being virtual.
Somebody mentioned it a little bit earlier, but for the sake of the audience and then anyone who's going to watch this stream after we're done and it's kind of posted on YouTube, can you give a quick update or like a quick rundown of what a Whisper Suite or an innovation forum actually is?
So basically we have different forums for like security, data center, and it gives you the opportunity to talk with someone from the BU or from the product manufacturing side and actually be able to have a conversation with them one-on-one. You would sign an NDA agreement so that, anything that we discuss definitely stays in the room, but you will be able to ask key questions directly to the BU and directly to the product manager. So it's a much better experience. A couple of years ago, I had a customer that actually went into a Whisper Suite, and that really helped us. That really helped them see the product for what it could do, and they knew where we was going innovation-wise, and they actually moved forward with an SD Access solution based off those conversations we had in the Whisper Suite. So I just really feels it gives a customer a chance to talk to the BU.
It's
have a direct conversation.
I'm so glad that you kind of described it that way, because I heard this from a few other people earlier, and I thought I'd bring it up again right now, that I think the theme of what you're sort of describing is like the Whisper Suite or Innovation Forum, whatever word we're using, term we're using this year. It's important in and of itself. I think it also like gives customers that chance to actually see our products for what they can really do. Because I don't know, maybe it's just me, but so often when you go into these courses or you go to Cisco Live or whatever else, what you see is what the main marketing material talks about. Like this software or this hardware does X, Y, and Z amazingly well. And for anybody out there who's like, well, yeah, but none of those are my use case. Okay, cool. I'll just write that off. I'm not going to think about it anymore. And this Cisco Live, and especially the Whisper Suites like you described, we talked at length earlier that like Todd getting up and doing his demos of products like super fast, highly agile. Like it gave a chance for all of our customers, any company out there that wanted to understand, to see that these products can actually help you in ways that are likely really relevant for your business, but you just didn't see it that way before.
Yes. And just being able to get that back end information, not just the architecture, but how it actually works and how the business use case can apply to, their needs. I think that's really key. A lot of times we'll say all these great things that it does, but a lot of times it doesn't apply to what our customers need.
Totally. I mean, you're in the same boat. You're very much in the same boat as I am. You've got all kinds of hospitality in Vegas. Yes. You've got all kinds of gaming. Like you said, the airlines, this travel industry, everything built around tourism heavily in that area. I'm sure with a lot of other businesses too. And then you look over to the, Silicon Valley, or probably get Southern California is probably a better reference. But like look at Silicon Valley, and I've got 6, 7 hospitals. We've got all kinds of chipset manufacturers. We've got financial services companies. Like nothing. I mean, probably very similar in some problems they deal with, but then vastly different in the actual business issues. None of my companies had to shut down actual business like a casino did in Vegas. Like people can't walk into a casino for a while because of COVID. I mean, people can't come into some of my customers to be at a desk, but they can still work from home and the business can still operate. Right. So to your point, go ahead.
And we had that kind of similar scenario where we had the casinos, definitely they were shut down. And then I had a company that's a website company that actually, took reservations for the casinos, for the shows, and they're still hit hard. So yeah, it's just all over the spectrum. We have hospitals here that we support that, they're building new hospitals to support COVID. So now we're rushing to get gear out to customers and things like that. So
yeah, definitely. I think it's so helpful when we're able as a company, and I think as an industry as a whole, but Cisco especially, considering how large Cisco is, to be able to show more and more customers that these solutions can actually help solve real business problems. So let's look at that in a little bit different way for sure. So kind of switching over a little bit, what would you, to kind of a really exciting, whatever that was for you, what would you say was the one thing that just kind of blew your mind about Cisco Live? Like one topic or announcement that you were like, wait, what the crap is this?
So I have 2, but I'll start with one.
Do it.
Okay. So Secure X is a mind blower, a game changer. I'm so excited for what Secure X can do. I have a lot of customers that have, 4 or 5 of our security products. So to be able to bring those together with one dashboard, and then the APIs that we've built the integration of other companies, I'm super excited about Secure X. That's my first one. My second one.
Well, hold on. Before you move on from that, I got to dig into that for a sec, because we've said Secure X on the show a few times. A few people have mentioned it, but do you mind giving the audience sort of a quick 30-second thing about what Secure X actually is?
So Secure X, for me, Secure X is a dashboard that aligns our security products from Umbrella, AMP, firewalls, and you have one place to go look at those devices where you can drill down to if a user's having an issue. It's just basically one main dashboard that supports all your customers. And then if you have other security applications that you use within your environment, you can build a link, an API, or integration where you can integrate those tools into Secure X as well. So it's, it's not just Cisco, it's other products that interact with it as well.
I know I said this earlier, but I hate to say the word again, but I'm going to do it. It's almost that dreaded single pane of glass. If it kind of feels like this might actually be that.
Yes, it's a single pane of glass. I don't know. It has a lot of glass in it. A lot of different windows, and you can customize it to be whatever single pane of glass you want it to be for your company. So I think that's really key.
That's a good point. Yeah. And it sounds like from what I had heard, it sounds like it's not just monitoring. There's actual, it's investigation. It's all the secure, really everything a SecOps team actually needs to run their job, from threat hunting to, quarantining things, all the actions. It's not just a dashboard to look at things and then you jump to another tool. It's you're going to orchestrate everything from this one place.
You can do it all from that one place. So you can really say single pane of glass without an issue, because it is that for your security portion of your network.
It's just wild that we're finally at this place. It's so cool. Yes. Okay, sorry, I interrupted you. What was your next thing?
So my next one was DevNet. I've been studying for my DevNet certification, and so this was really hit home for me. All the automation and things that we're building in for customers to do DevNet is amazing. The Meraki piece was like, blew my mind. And maybe because I have a lot of customers that are looking at Meraki now, so I really honed in on that. But being able to build the integrations that, basically all the automation, I'm super excited about DevNet. If you didn't get a chance to go through the DevNet piece, that's the way the industry is going. I would recommend, take some time and go back and look at the replays around the DevNet.
Yeah, I could not agree more. It's I mean, you're probably seeing something similar in your customers too, but especially now with COVID and more people being at home, I have noticed that the conversations we're having with, the traditional networking teams that we talk to, not all of them, many of them are see this and they're doing, they're trying, but there's a lot of people out there, I think, that still, and I don't want to be too harsh to people and like be polarizing, but I will say that like I'm noticing more and more that the company as a whole is actively moving faster and faster towards a cloud native, whether it's just an off-prem cloud or an actual public cloud, some sort of off-prem, you don't own the infrastructure, management, integrations, whatever it is. And that it's being talked about at the C levels and the board. And they don't know the details, but they know that, look, everyone else is doing it. We have to move fast. Cloud's what means move fast. Go do it. And so if you're somebody who just sits and types at this thing all day long, commands in a keyboard, in a command line, if you aren't already irrelevant to the business, you're likely going to be very soon. And the company just hasn't realized it yet. But as soon as they do, if the only value add you actually have is hitting on that keyboard some commands to get something done, I mean, you're going to be in a bad place because the business needs to move fast. And the whole DevOps, DevNet, the integrations piece, and at least understanding how it works is going to make you invaluable to the company as they adopt and they move into whatever this new world is going to look like.
Yes. A lot of my customers, and, we've been having this conversation because, they're moving towards SD access. And a lot of that stuff is coming from the C-level, like you said. A lot of them have been pushing back on automation. But since we've been in COVID, our conversations have changed. I don't know. It's just because it's became my passion now. And I'm just like,
you just walk in the room with a sticker and you go, DevNet. That's what we're talking about today.
I don't know if it's because I'm drilling it in but no, my customers are now starting to be like, okay, let's talk a little bit more about the automation piece. Let's talk about, the DNA center automation. Let's talk about, Meraki automation, data center, just all the platforms. It's already built in. We have a process that, they're starting to get on board. So I'm super excited about the things that we're doing around DevNet.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm so jazzed. I didn't get to watch DevNet Day because I had some other stuff that popped up. So I'm super glad that you brought it up because I was so bummed out that I couldn't participate. But it's really good to hear that like it's getting more of a showcase and more companies and individuals are realizing like how that can actually help. And I don't want to speak for you, but I don't think any of us are suggesting that everyone out there should become a coder or should learn how to write every program. That's not what it's about at all. It's just simply understanding that there is a different way to interact with to get these systems to interact with each other. And you just need to understand some of it. Someone's probably already built most of this stuff already for you.
Yeah, you can go on GitHub and get almost anything you need. So
exactly.
Just understanding what GitHub does and just understanding how it integrates. And, you have that person that might be sitting in the room writing code all day. Just know that you have access to it. It's out there, and Cisco is building those tools within our products.
Yep, absolutely. So any as we kind of wrap up for the day, any final thoughts you've got for everybody out there? Anything else you want them to take away from Cisco Live this year, or just any other plugs you want to give?
So like we talked about earlier, really miss the in-person because you and I have had the chance to link up at Cisco Live and, get to see our customers, and being that we haven't seen them in 3 months. What some of the things that I'm doing with my customers is some of the key takeaways. We're going back and we're just, doing like a viewing party and watching those videos. So if you haven't had a chance, go back and watch some of the presentations. They're really good. We have them out there. You have access to them, and our whole portfolio is there. I think that would be my last plug is go back and do replay and watch some popcorn, eat some popcorn and watch it online.
I love it. There you go. That's awesome. Well, Deidre, thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Have a great afternoon, and I'll get wrapped up here in just a minute. Thank you. I'll see you later.
Right, thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye. Well, everyone, thank you so much for sticking to the end. I've got about 4 viewers left here at the very end of this live stream. I know it's been a long one, and I really appreciate you all sticking around. Cisco Live was an amazing week, and as you can tell from all the viewers that we had over the last hour and a half, that everybody is super pumped about it. There's a lot of amazing content. So, while there may have been about 16, I don't know, give or take 16 sessions or more that happened live over the 2 days, I believe last Friday, another 200 something sessions or more dropped. So if you go to the website, go to CiscoLive.com, you can navigate your way through to see sessions that are there. So like another 200 sessions dropped at least. So I think there's probably 200 or 300 sessions in there now from this event alone, because the format was set up to have some things present live, and then a bunch of other folks that were presenting normally would be in person did recorded sessions. So a lot of those recorded sessions have already been taken care of. They've been posted to the website. It's there. I believe another batch of those is happening in July timeframe. I don't know the date, but I think around the July timeframe, and then another batch in probably September. So just keep a look at. Not only are you going to find sessions from many years ago, so that there's so much great learning now that you can get registered for free and use it, but there's more to come. So there's even more stuff happening. Definitely check out developer.cisco.com. If you're interested in DevNet, there's a lot of great stuff there. You don't need to know how to code. You don't even have to be comfortable touching code if you're not there yet. There are some amazing learning tracks that will walk you through just on your own laptop that you can set up. You don't need other infrastructure. You don't need any background. It'll walk you through it, get you at least comfortable with what these concepts even are. And if you want to take the advantage and take the next step to learn more about how to write some of these languages, there is more advanced stuff there too. So it's all at developer.cisco.com. Thank you all again so much for joining. I really appreciate it. If you'd like to keep up on everything that Baz Bytes does, first, I'd love a thumbs up when this video is posted. Here in just a little bit, I'll have it uploaded to YouTube so it'll be here forever. Click the subscribe button here on the channel. That way you get notified of all the new content we do. If you haven't been to Baz Bytes before, thank you so much for jumping on. We have content from all the SEs on the very select team. We put out these bite-sized, get it? Bite? I know. With these bite-sized videos that we put out, that my engineers on my team put out on a regular basis from all the different products that we sell at Cisco, to make it really easy for you to use and to consume and to really understand how they can help your business. So thank you again. Have a wonderful afternoon and enjoy the rest of your post Cisco Live week, I guess. Bye, guys.